One of the world's largest real estate investment managers, Nuveen Real Estate, has just announced the practical completion of a recent purchase in Sydney known as SubStation No.164. Developed by Built and acquired by Nuveen, the 8,000 square metre heritage office property on Clarence Street is the group's first acquisition on behalf of its Asia Pacific city strategy. To talk us through the firm's plan is Rick Marston, Head of Australian Transactions at Nuveen Real Estate. Thanks for joining us on The Urban Developer, Rick.
Thank you, Adam. Excited to be here.
Now, just for those that aren't familiar with Nuveen, can you just tell us about the company?
Yeah, happy to. And as you sort of said, Nuveen's one of the largest real estate fund managers in the world. We currently have $134 billion of US under management. We span the globe. There are very large holdings in the Americas, Europe, and we have 6 offices here in APAC, all property types, from housing all the way to retail. Our sort of background, our pedigree, so we are the investment management arm of TIAA, the large US pension fund that currently has $1.1 trillion under management, which is not a small amount, which we're obviously very proud of. And from an Australian perspective, we've been here on the ground in Sydney since 2012, managing, again, a mix of housing, office and retail assets.
Yeah. So SubStation number 164 is the first major acquisition in Australia. It's a pretty special project. What attracted you to it?
There are not enough superlatives to describe it. So a number of factors. It's that uniqueness. For me, it was the true combination of old and new, the 2 heritage buildings coming together, and the glass bubble on the top. We really need to give it a proper moniker. You know, the bubble, the system, the thought bubble, something like that. Also, Built itself as a development partner have just been fantastic. I'm harassing them to do more deals just because they've been great to deal with. Not to wax too lyrical, but a number of developers tried and were ultimately unsuccessful. Their vision and courage, frankly, to take on the project, look, that really attracted us, and we've done well throughout that. There's also the machine hall, which is basically a 13-metre void sitting off of Clarence Street, brilliant for event space, galleries. The City of Sydney is very excited about it, and sort of keeping that as somewhat sort of public access for public use was key to the planning outcome. So again, a very collaborative approach with developer and the city. From a product offering, sort of turning more to the real estate side as opposed to the emotional side, it's very fortunate. Obviously, this was developed during COVID, and as a result, we've been able to implement some COVID-safe measures, for example, contactless technology, bathrooms, etc. But also what we're finding is that the Sydney leasing market is really kicking in the sort of smaller floor plate fitted space, which is what we have, call it around 650 to 700 square metres. So we're seeing a lot of traction, which is great. But also smaller tenants would typically take split floors. We're seeing that there's less of a demand for that for COVID reasons. And so we're fortunate in that regard that we can offer whole floors to the smaller tenants, and they can control their own sort of cleaning and destiny in that regard. And as an overarching kind of theme for Nuveen, we're very, very big on ESG sustainability. All companies are and claim to be. It's in our woven into our DNA. And so this building being 6-star as built, as designed rating, and we're going for a 5-star NABERS energy rating, really fits into that. So I can go on for hours. That is a great product, but yeah, we're very excited to have it in the stable.
Sound like a pretty happy buyer. So the purchase is part of what's known as an Asia Pacific cities strategy. What's the strategy, and how does Australian real estate fit into that?
I mean, the strategy is in essence to buy core, which is largely a motherhood statement. But really, what does that mean? And what it means is we need to buy a product that is resilient from an income perspective, that from a market perspective. So the strategy is, so Nuveen Real Estate's research identified 17 cities in APAC that were considered to be resilient and of investment sort of quality. So, and again, to answer this question around Australia, I mean, Australia has Sydney and Melbourne in particular, and Brisbane as a sort of a secondary of those 17 cities. Investors globally are aware of it. The markets, very transparent markets. Australia is globally the little engine that could in a number of ways. So COVID, level of education of property professionals, transparency, etc. But also, again, bring it back to the ESG. Australia really was a leader in of global sustainability efforts. If you look at the early GRESB survey results, it was we were the green stars for a very long time when everyone else was lagging. So again, and really the sustainability element and ESG credentials goes hand in glove with the income and the resilience side. So basically, buy core buildings, good core buildings in solid locations with great ESG credentials.
Yeah. And so what are you looking at now in terms of an acquisition strategy? Specifically, you mentioned Sydney, Melbourne, potentially Brisbane, but what specific assets are you sort of assessing?
We've actually had quite a few strings to our bows. So breaking it down, sort of, when I say core, I won't be quite as vague as just saying core. So really, the Asia Pacific Cities Fund, the owner of 183 Clarence, we're pushing. That is a core fund. So obviously core products. So selectively, now I personally am a big believer in office, and really we had that support internally for office. Again, looking at Sydney, obviously there was a hiccup this week, but largely things were returning back to normal. So looking in that space, on the core space, but again, core is a bit of a motherhood statement. The key is it's got to be the right building. So flight to quality, so good quality, A grade, but also premium product. Those larger buildings have got the ability to offer the amenity that tenants want to be able to bring their workforce back. We're finding that as a theme across the buildings, that what the tenants really need now is to get their people back, and a bigger, newer building has got the yoga rooms and the food offering and the bars next door, so to speak. So that's important. And then also, like a lot of others, we're looking at the new world sectors, so alternatives, so data centers. We've got a big life science pedigree in the US, and that's key for us as well.
Right. Okay. And just finally, strategically, what do you see as the biggest kind of opportunities and also risks facing you guys as you roll out your strategy?
Putting it simply, competition. There remains a weight of money. Like looking at office, for example. So last year there were a number of preemptions taken up, and early this year, and there were some trades. There's been some recent campaigns which have shown that there is that weight of office, weight of money chasing office, but the opportunity exists, and I don't think you can put too fine a point on this. That you need a boots on the ground approach. Nuveen is a very large manager, but we do have that boots on the ground approach, and it's not just an ethereal statement. It really it matters. So we know the people, we know the market, but moreover, we know the people, and we know the right people to talk to, and sort of the right levers to pull to be able to access the opportunities, and also to be able to underwrite them correctly. Because we can all speak to agents and we can underwrite from afar, but really having that granular knowledge of the Sydney premium market, at Circular Quay, for example, really is fundamental to the optimal outcome.
Absolutely. Well, the first cab off the rank is a pretty impressive acquisition, and we wish you all the very, very best. Rick, thanks for your time.
Great. Thank you, Adam. Cheers.